else because every time I skip, it just picks another one of that person's videos. And it's like, why? Why do you keep taking me to the same? And I obviously can't use my phone because I'm driving, so I can't like stop and pick a different. So you end up in this fucking thing of being like, every time I skip, you just take me to a different video by the same YouTuber, and I'm just like, I don't. And it's not even the YouTuber I started on; it's just like a random like it'll pick that person, like it'll be doing like basically a good shuffle, and then suddenly it decides this YouTuber is the one you want to watch, and then it just keeps playing that YouTuber stuff over and over. I'm like, why?
Yeah,
it's really annoying actually. Let's see if I can actually get the platform to compile this time. I think I did. I think I tested it after my computer and it worked. So. Hey, okay. Empty blank screen is saying camera order ambiguous because apparently we're spawning two cameras in. Interesting. Okay. So am I just doing that because yes, I put the spawn camera in update. Which means it's spawning a new camera every frame.
Might do. Let's see how this looks.
All right. So you've used LDTK. How the fuck does it actually format stuff? Like, because I feel like I should just set up a platform and how I know how to do it, and then try and tie LDTK in. But I'm also a bit concerned that I'm gonna spend ages doing that, and it's not like, and then it's gonna turn out that it lays it out in a fucking completely different way.
Okay. What do you mean, like in the editor? Like how it how you get my like tile set to work?
No, like so. It's hard to explain, I guess. LDT. I'm just gonna re-download it because I like literally have reboot my computer since I installed it. So like in Bevy, I can just stick down sprites and give them images and stuff. But like LDTK, I'm assuming exports like actual things that I have to respond to in a certain way or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, because I've used libraries that are like plug and play, so I don't know exactly how it works within itself. I just know how to like use a library and like get it to work with the library, I guess.
Well,
I did that in
okay,
Love
so
2 because I was aware of the one that exists for Bevy, and I was like, I'll see if there's an alternative for Love 2D, and there was.
Well, I guess so I was going to use the Bevy one. The issue is that like it's not entirely obvious how it fucking works.
I that sucks.
Well, I'm sure if I followed their tutorial, but the issue is that like then I have to actually do their game and then modify from
they did
there.
it.
Because it's got like their just copy their thing.
There's like probably you can probably look at how like the documentation from LDTK on how they have it, so you can maybe just write your own like thing if you want to go as far as that. Or maybe it'll help you understand the one that they wrote better.
I guess I'm just gonna have to copy their tutorial and just steal all their assets. The issue is it makes it really hard to publish it like open source until I'm like at a point where I can remove all their examples.
Oh yeah,
because it's like I can't just publish it because it's their code that I just copied pasted. So the question is, so there's like a level selected and this and that.
Are you gonna do all your games like open source?
That's just what I
or
do.
just that's cool. That
I personally, I think open source adds just enough friction that like people would still buy your game if it's on Steam. Like as proven by Cataclysm and Dwarf Fortress both being free to download games that they put a Steam release out and they still make millions of dollars. So like the open source of it.
Even just software like Ace Sprite, the software that I use for pixel art, you can compile it yourself if you want it for free. But you can. Most people just buy it on Steam for the convenience factor of just being able to like.
These aren't even like Cataclysm and Dwarf Fortress aren't even like compile them yourselves. It's literally just download the exe from our website. People still pay.
I don't know. Maybe there's sometimes there's like
Well, part of it's like
But
a way of supporting the creator without like and actually
yeah,
getting something in return of being like, I'll pay for the game because the game's good. I think that's what a lot of AAA titles don't understand. Because like, oh, we've got to do this to try and force you to pay. It's like you do realize that people will pay for your game if they think it's good. The trick is to let them play your game and then decide that it's good, as opposed to the way they seem to do it now, which is to trick you into like doing it.
yeah. I like to. I am definitely a proponent of like the like proponent of, and it's more support of like, I guess, in cases of piracy morally, because there's like cases of it being for preservation or
Yeah.
for people who I can't experience products because they don't have the money to, and you want people to have entertainment because they deserve it.
My logic of it is like if I pirate like a movie and then like send the people that I think actually deserve the money directly the money, they will get way more of that money. Because from my perspective, I don't think that the publishing company should be entitled to basically everything forever. The same as I won't buy books off dead people, like Michael Crichton books and that like that. I've bought like paperback copies because I actually want to own the paperback copy of the book, but I'm not going to go buy like the audiobook of Jurassic Park because I'm like, he's dead. That's not going to make a new book
Yeah,
come out. You don't get to live on the royalties of his books for the. He's been dead since like 2008. So like you've made your money back. Like you don't need to. Same as
yeah,
I do find it a little bit weird that his I think it's his wife or whatever keeps like letting like licensing out his books to be like they're making sequels to these books and I'm like, but he's been dead. Like, how are you making sequels?
yeah,
Some of them are actually really good. Like the thing is like she actually is like because I think he owned all his books, so she's still got the creative control of being like only the people I think actually deserve like and have a good book can write a book. Like I'll give them my blessing is what's really happening more than it's like oh I'm going to cash grab these books. But there's a lot of companies out there where it's like the author's been dead for fucking decades and they're like yeah but you still have to pay like it's like how Disney destroyed copyright because it was like every time it almost
yeah,
expired, they were like, let's extend it to now. It's 75 years from the death of the author, which is the equivalent of saying you never get to write about anything that was written while you were alive. You never get to do. Whereas like originally it was 25 years. The idea was if you grew up and this book came out when you were growing up, when you're an adult, you can write fan fiction about this book and actually publish it. Now you can't because it's 75 years from the death of the author. You will be dead before it goes into public domain if it was written in your lifetime. And it's like, it's so fucking stupid. And so I don't cooperate with that
yeah,
system of being like, I will pirate stuff if I don't think that the person who deserves the money is going to get the money. Big corporations don't need 120 years of copyright.
yeah. I definitely agree. I had like a cool idea because I know some developers are like, oh yeah, pirate my game. I don't care. Like I would
Was it
say I
there was a
categories.
YouTuber that did that. I think it was Freddie Wong when he published his movie and he found out that it had been pirated. He went to the pirating site and uploaded the 4K version and said, "There you go. At least if you're gonna pirate my movie, watch it in fucking proper quality and not some 240p handheld camcorder thing. Because it's not about making money. It was about giving people the experience that he like his authorial intent. He's like." The pirate movie, you're going to risk getting viruses. Here's the official version on torrenting websites. Like, you don't need to steal it. I will give it away. And then that actually, like,
Yeah,
apparently boosted the actual people watching it in cinemas because they could be like, watch it and be like, oh, this is really cool, and take their friends to see it in theaters and stuff like that.
yeah, it's dope. Doing say like showing that you care about the consumer is going to help you
I think it's really
make
funny because
money,
he has
opposed to like
he has
showing
a
that you
much
don't
more
care.
I would say like antagonistic approach to it of being like it's not like about caring about the audience. Like obviously he does because like he posts his stuff to YouTube and like he
Yeah.
cares, but like it's really funny because he's playing a character up being like I don't want you fuckers like ruining my intent, so like I'm giving you the good copy.
Oh yeah, I
It's
see.
it was like he was doing it in an arrogant way of being like I'm not just giving you this shit. I don't want you watching my shit in bad quality. Like
That's funny.
it's just
I
such a
had an
funny way of
idea.
doing it.
Yeah, I had an idea to do. Like I have an idea of releasing a build of if I ever made a completed game, I could release a build of it for like piracy, like that's torrentable, and I would just like put some like exclusive content in the pirated build.
I
Just
remember
for people that
there was
pirate it.
some games where they released their like anti-piracy software, like they have the thing where it's like
Yeah.
if you pirate a game, there's like an impossible level, and people started pirating the game to play the impossible level because that like because it was about like I watched like a video. It was like 10 times that pirates have outed themselves because they put like if it detected piracy instead of just booting you out, it just like made this boss basically unkillable. And then it was like people going, "Oh, how do you get past this boss? I can't beat them." And everyone else was going, "What do you mean that boss that like I've never met run that boss?" And it's like, well, they're on a pirated copy of the game because there's only a pirated copy gets that boss. But it was like I think it was Serious Sam where it was like the boss was still beatable. It was just really, really, really fucking hard. And so people were like pirating the game to play against the really hard boss because it was like an Uber challenge.
That's cool. Yeah, like I I was kind of inspired by the like anti-piracy measures just going the opposite direction where you just do throw them a bone instead of trying to like make it something malicious.
But there was a whole
Um
bunch of games that did that. Like I think it was back in the day when you had to print a booklet just do the anti-piracy stuff, where it was like technically you could still solve the thing. It was just not necessarily as straightforward.
mm,
And it was like that idea of being like, imagine if you like you were like, man, this puzzle's like unsolvable, but it's like the reality is if you had the booklet, you part of what you needed was in the booklet.
yeah,
Uh,
I think that'd be fun. I need to
what was there was another one where it's like when they pirated, it's like the pirated copy that they put on like the Pirate Bay gave you cosmetics. So the pirated version was the only way to get the pirate patch and stuff like that, where it's like, and then it was a multiplayer game where you could see the cosmetics.
Oh, that's really funny.
So the idea being that like if you pirated the copy, you actually got cosmetics the people who didn't pirate the copy didn't get. And I think it was linked to your account. So like the idea was that like you had still have an account. So if you wanted to do the premium stuff, you still had to like like it was linked in such a way like it was a free account sort of thing, but like you would go get the pirated copy to get the pirated stuff and then go back to the normal copy because there was like bits and pieces that weren't in the pirated version or whatever. So it was like that idea of being like, I just want the cosmetics. So I just go download the pirated thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking
I wonder how I would do it, like, if I, like, because I was thinking about it, and I wanted it to, like, be able to transfer over to, like, a normal copy, so that way if you pirated it just to get certain content, you could still open it in the main game
Well,
afterwards.
one way to do that would be to have a free account, and if they log in with the free account on a pirated copy, it basically just like puts the stuff on their account, and then they can leave, go back to their main like actual copy, and then like they've still got the stuff. Like it's like physical or no, digital items that like how Steam has this like inventory. It's like you just have like an
Yeah.
inventory, and when they do it, you just add it to their inventory. Or you could just put a file on their computer somewhere that basically says these are the items you've unlocked, and when you get the part of version, you just add the items to the end of the list.
Because I was like, I didn't know if I should just include the content in the main game, but it should just be like a flag
Oh
that
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. So you
tell
only you have
when
it in
you
the main
install
game,
the pirate version.
and then you unlock it as like an item that they unlock. That's how you do it. So you would have it in both copies of the game, like all the content in both copies of the game, and it's just when you log into the pirated version, it like triggers a flag that says you've unlocked the pirated stuff.
I also thought about doing it in a way where like if the game had a modding system, it could just be like a mod that's installed in the pirated version or something. Because then you can't like even you can't just go in the game files and like turn on the flag. You have to actually get the pirated
Like
version and
the
torrent it.
pirated version just has like additional content. Well, that would actually be another way
Yeah,
of doing it. Is if the pirated version had the content, and then when you unlock an item, it just copied the content to like a certain directory. So the idea being that like when you play the pirated version, it loads the content somewhere. That when you then swap back to the main game can now see the content.
yeah, I liked that better because like it almost I like the idea of just encouraging people to pirate even if they did buy it.
Yeah, make like an ARG of it of being like there's 4 or 5 different pirated versions that all have different content that unlocks with it. So like depending on what thing you pirated.
Yeah, that would be funny. Maybe I could release like secret pirated drops that have different like content in them. Like every time I do like a big massive game update, I also do like a pirate update where like the pirate update gets us some exclusive content or something. I think that would be worth the extra dev time just to add, to add extra stuff just for the people that are pirating.
Don't understand this component stuff. I've got the basic example of the LZTK working, but I don't know where it's specifying the like custom components.
Mm.
So they got like a component A and a component B. And then when like it loads, I assume it's pulling those from somewhere, and they've like got a sprite sheet marked as a sprite. But like I can't see anywhere in the LZTK where they're like specifying custom component A and custom component B. Maybe I'm just not in the right thing.
Okay, save this. I'm gonna export an animation and I'll send it to you just so you can see what it looks like.
Cool.
Uh,
So like
actually, which one?
coordinates and an ID, and maybe it's like somewhere else. The tiles.
I'm gonna just do this. This is just I'm just gonna export it as a GIF so she can see it. I'll export as a spreadsheet when you want, or we can do like the A sprite thing. I forgot that thing I was
Yeah,
talking about.
I don't know how
Like the thing.
there's too many new things to try and implement at once. But yeah, I like that as
Yeah,
like a long term thing. But like,
yeah. Don't worry about it then. I don't want to make you do extra stuff.
well, no, it's more like
Actually,
it looks really interesting as like a concept if you can like tag animations and pull them out and stuff like that. But it's like I'm trying to work LZTK out. I don't need to then also be trying to like how do I tie LZTK into the A sprite animations?
yeah. Well, unless like the tile sets are animated, I don't think we have to worry about that too much because in my like thing, I kind of just the way I did it was like the A sprite extension was just used for the like sprites that are like the player and like entities and stuff, and then like the LDGK stuff was just regular sprite sheet, like for tile set, whatever it's called, I forget. Just the way it works with LDK normally. Mm. Oh shoot, I need to export this all frames. There we go.
Rapier physics, Anita, insert level UID, use word translation, let level name is true, set color from level background, game, debug print inventory, camera fitness, side current level, objects.
There we go. Now I got the GIF. Let me send it to you so you can see it real quick. I exported it. I upscaled it so that way you could see the details without having to zoom in on like the Discord preview or whatever. I could have done this a lot faster, but I was just trying to relearn the software on like the iPad because the software it's not AceSprite, but it reads AceSprite files and it works slightly different, obviously, because it's like for touchscreens instead of as opposed to like a computer app is regularly designed. So I was trying to relearn a lot of things I would do in AceSprite in this software. This is the little animation I did for just moving.
Let him go. Cool. Frame so we can see. Yep. Okay. I'm still completely lost on how this LTTK stuff works. Player bundle. The LTTK entity. I'm sure it's the LTTK entity is it? Focus worldly climber. Okay, so these are like. Alright, so maybe if I open this platform one, I can like see a little bit more about you close this project. Then we're gonna like load. I assume it's called platform. Typical 2D platform. Example. I assume domain. What the fuck do you load? These are default. Level select setting. Debug inventory. Camera. World wall ground climb player. Run.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I should mention this. I'm gonna make all the sprites white, but in engine, I'm gonna allow you to like tint, so that way, because like white's a good color to tint from anything from.
Yeah.
So that way,
Yeah.
the player character like green, and then the enemies can be red, and then like the environment can just be white. So that way, it's like a contrasty thing. So that makes it easy to see where you are and where the enemies are.
So player knife boot test mob player items enum array type array enum.item field identify items. So I'm trying to go work out the sprite is player.png. How the fuck are they doing that though? Is that just a thing that they can do? Oh, now the player has no inventory. Interesting. So max count 1 in the world. Prevent adding more. And max 3. So this is like editor rules. Okay. But how the fuck? So they have items. Documentation. Port to TC. Table of contents enables you you may also export field values to the JSON. Okay. Searchable.
Where's my phone? Where is my charger at?
Value specification, default value, default value. Array min length, max length can contain nulls. Display, show values only. How the hell are you doing this? Pumpkin? There's a chest and the pumpkin. Alright, so I don't really know. So what the fuck is this worldly? What the fuck is okay? Build items manually using import from entity instance. From entity instance. Okay, so let's play a movement. Intersecting clone is empty. Timing is if timing.
Out of curiosity, where did you get your like? How did you get your icon like set up? Did you commission someone, or did you like
what icon? Like where? Like what? I had lots of icons everywhere. So
the icon that you use for your like your like channel profile picture and like just the profile picture in general?
So my ex drew the fox. I used to just use a fox that I like took from somewhere. Like I copy pasted they're like, you've got to pay for it, and I went, okay, I'll open the source code and copy paste it out of there. And then I like didn't like using something I stole, so I was like, oh, can you redraw this? And my so I extra the normal Fox, and then the pixelated Fox that you occasionally see, not the 3D one, but like just the flat pixelated one that I use. That was someone during the stream drew it one time and went, oh, I just drew this. Do you want it? No, cool. So I used that in places. I got their permission to use it. Then the 3D pixelated one is just like something I asked the AI to for like a stream thumbnail, because I was like, my thumbnails are getting really boring because I keep just sort of using the same thumbnail over and over. And I suck at art, so I just need to like spice it up sometimes. I try to avoid using AI like in places that it matters.
Yeah. I think the only place I feel comfortable using it is just if I was as a developer, when I'm like, probably when I get lines of coding, I'll probably end up using it for like boilerplate stuff or something.
Oh,
But
it's really good for programming, especially because programming is like, it's not about the lines of code you wrote, it's about how they all fit together. And so that AI can make that really trivial, but it can also just be like, it means that I can write something out once and then be like, oh, I've got to copy this like 6 times and make slight variations. And if I make one mistake, then the whole thing doesn't work. Like doing like meshes and stuff like that. Like when I'm doing like a cube and it's like, oh, just got to do one face and then modify it slightly to the second. And it's like the AI will just work it out and then it snaps down and then you just got to like double check that it's correct. And then you can just, it saves a lot of like boilerplate I also use it for like placeholder art kind of stuff, like where I'll get it to generate something and then I'll like draw over it or like recreate what it did, because it's like it's really good at coming up with like close enough but not actually what I want. So like I can't really see shit in my head, so asking the AI so that I actually have a reference to then recreate like UIs and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, can you make me this? And then I'll write the UI, because there's no chance the AI will actually make the UI in a way that I can modify it in any way.
Yeah.
Okay, so
If you ever like need anything, I'll make something for you as well if you want.
that would actually be awesome if you could do some like art for the channel. I want to do a big YouTube series of doing like remaking my Bevy Basics stuff, where I go through like, I've got, as I've said, like hundreds of lines of like Obsidian like document of like components and like everything I can find about them, and I want to expand that out to everything and then do like a series where it's like, it might be like an hour-long video just talking about components and just talking about systems, where I go through everything. And I'd like good thumbnails for that, because I feel like it might be like when I do those kinds of videos, they make like $10-15. So it's like, actually feels like it. So if I put good thumbnails, like when I put effort into the thumbnails, they tend to do like way better. And I'm like, I need to do thumbnails if I'm going to put hundreds of hours into work on the videos.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
Yeah. I'm still trying to work out this fucking LTTK stuff.
Oh, sorry, what was that again?
I'm just trying to work out this LTTK stuff. So I've worked it. I can load things into the world and it actually does the background, but I have no idea how they actually like. It's got this thing where they've got like worldly, and I don't know what worldly fucking means. And I don't know if that's something that they're pulling from LTTK, because so they've got like a meta tag, which is how you tell like I'm assuming the LTTK entity that that it needs to do something special with these. So they've got this hash worldly, and then they've got a worldly thing, and then it's like import LTTK entity for worldly. So they do something, and it's like, it's very confusing. And then they've got this other one with like sprite, player image sprite. I'm like, what? Oh god, it's throwing me. It's really throwing me. So like that's what annoys me about this, is they've got this thing called player bundle, and I'm like, is the player bundle important? do we need the player bundle? Like, that's why I don't want to really use the LTTK, is because I have this feeling that everything's going to be strings and everything's going to need to be named exactly right, which is why I use Rust, is because I despise when I have to rely on my ability to spell. But maybe that's one of those things, it's they're only strings when they transfer between. So it's like, as long as we get it correct in both places, then it wouldn't matter.
I think it might not be case sensitive, because I remember testing case sensitivity and I think it didn't matter, but maybe I could be wrong. I might be misremembering. Because I've also loaded, I've messed with LTTK and like loading it into like Haxfluxel as well. And I think I remember that being the case at the time. I don't know if it was just because of the way that I don't know.
Well,
It was a while
what I
ago.
don't like is what they consider the concept of like magic numbers is what they call it, where there's just sort of a value that you're supposed to know, if that makes sense. So the idea being that like I don't know if they've called this player bundle because Bevy calls things bundles, or if they've called it player bundle because that's what LDTK will spit out. You know, like I don't know if there's a specific thing that I have to name things so that when I load the LDTK, they actually come out called that. I guess I could look at the file and oh god, it's very complicated. I'm gonna look for something called a player. I'm trying to work out like is player so identifier, so entity identifier player. It's capital E player, and then the UID is 46, which is a strangely low number for a unique identifier. But anyway, so that means that's like a per LDTK project, I guess. This is gonna get confusing. So we're gonna say like so pub struct player bundle. So my issue with it is I don't know if the player bundle is going to be like it needs to be called player. That's so we can derive.
You want me to export? I think I'm gonna head out in a minute. I want to go hang out with a friend and get something to eat. So do you want me to export the spreadsheet with both the animations in it?
Yeah, up to you.
Yeah, I'll just do it real quick because that shouldn't take that long.
I'm gonna try and get this like LDTK project, like the default example one, and I'll like replace the player with the slime.
I'll just have it for the future then, just
Well,
to
if you
have
want to
it
send it to me,
done.
I can always just like implement like it when I get the chance. But it's like I'm saying, there's no real rush because I don't necessarily plan on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'll just do it just to do it. Honestly. Do call frames. There, I got it exported.
Okay, cool. All right, so it's
I'll
idle
re-export it
and
whenever
everything. And so I just flip
anyway.
it, just if I just mirror it to do the left and versus the right.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about that too, just to make it simpler for because it's just gonna be
Yeah, just
a
placeholder
little
for now.
prototype like thing.
Also, can you? I did do this last time you sent me stuff. Can you export it actually like 1 pixel to 1 pixel? Last time you did like 17 pixels to 1, which was very weird to try and fix. I had to like load it into GIMP and scale it down and then resize the canvas.
Oh shoot. Sorry, I didn't realize I did that.
Yeah, because they're like really high resolution, but they're like it's 1 pixel. It's
Yeah,
like
no,
70 pixels
I
wide.
think there's a setting to put it to upscale, and I do that when I'm like exporting it as a GIF, so that way the GIF isn't super blurry. But like, I don't want to do that when it's actually the asset. So like, sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, 'cause I didn't realize that was the case. Okay, size multiplier, just one. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, all good. Uh,
I think it's small now. I guess we'll tell when I upload it because I can't tell. I don't feel like opening it in the Mac image preview app. So I'm just gonna assume that it's small now. No, that's not right. That's the same size. Okay, I messed that up.
anyway, I'll work with it for now.
No, okay. I see what had happened. There was like a pop-up that was like I was just clicking OK on. It was like, do you want to use the size multiplier? Because this will be really blurry for people. And I was like, okay on that pop-up.
Right.
And that was what the issue was. Because I did not want to be okay with that.
Internet shortcut. No, didn't. Discord, what are you? The Discord's fucking weird. It's like I said, like, copy image, and then it was like, oh yeah. Like they'll just copy the link.
There we go. Now I did it.
Alright, is that cool? Oh yeah, now it's tiny. Cool. Save image. Slum. Love it. Alright,
Yeah.
assets.
I basically was getting this like warning message. I'll send it to you just so you can see. And I was just clicking OK, and I was not realizing I was pressing OK on it.
Yeah, I gotta love when you do that, and your brain just goes, "Yeah, no, this is great." Projects, assets.
I was like doing this. It was like, who's this? Okay.
Cool. Exported resolution is quite small, which can result in blurry when sharing. You can increase the size of WhatsApp higher to improve the image quality. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that's nice for people that aren't as like aware of technical aspects, but like I know when I'm exporting or upscaling it, so like I don't want this pop-up to happen anymore, so I'm just gonna click on the don't show again, so I don't accidentally just click on it.
Yeah, well, it's also one of those things. It's like, it wouldn't really matter because as long as I knew, but it was just annoying last time because again, all these other assets are really low resolution, which means that when you load the high resolution, it just like clobbers the other assets in terms of like they'll keep the same position.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't realize I was exporting an upscaled version because of that pop-up.
Yeah, I've loaded it.
I did intentionally upscale the GIF, but I wasn't trying to intentionally upscale anything else.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna head out because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get something to eat, and then hang out with a friend. But yeah, have a good one.
Good. Yep, you too. Okay. Let's see if like running this loads in the asset. Because what I'm wondering is if sprite sheet is basically saying to this LTTK entity to grab the sprite sheet in here, which is if I open this, like when I open this, like this sprite sheet. So here we pick the sprite sheet. If I say it's going to say like load the whole sprite sheet in. It still didn't load the player. Can I import fn player spawned player spawned, right? And then we're going to say populated underscore populated and then nothing and added player. Right. So then we go up here and we just go add system update. Right. So we're gonna update and then like player spawn like this. I don't have any idea how to do mobile actually. It's something I've been avoiding because apparently it's a bit buggy in terms of like there's a lot of things where it's like, oh, this works on iOS, this works on Android, this doesn't work on either. There's a bunch of things like you don't have a mouse, so anything that you have to use like pointer stuff, not like logical pointer, but like Bevy has a concept of a pointer, which is for like touch screen interactions. But also like if you click the UI, it's a pointer click, which lets you use mouse, gamepad, and touchscreen all can use pointer because Bevy compiles the three together and works out what the pointer would be. Okay, so are we printing spawning the player? No, so we're not spawning the player in, which is kind of annoying. Do I have to register the bundle maybe? That would make a little bit of sense. So we go to the examples and we go player bundle, climbing, climber, player plugin. Okay, so we say app, player movement, and then register IDK entity, player bundle as player. Okay, so I think there's our string that I was talking about, like where it's like it needs to be something. So we go here and we say register IDT LDTK entity, like so, and we say that the player bundle is called player, right? So the idea is that we are getting the string player, and we're saying that the player bundle comes from the player. So, because when we go back to our code here, here, we search for player, player, right? So it still didn't spawn the player in. Identify a player. Entity instances, identify a player. So do we not have the player bundle? Why did that not work? Is it it's the same player? Right. Grid, pivot, tile set UID. So we're still not spawning the player in, which I don't quite get. Collide a bundle from entity instance. Worldly. Alright. So I did register, I did save it, I did run. So why are we not spawning the player in? I'm loading the right world, I believe. The typical 2D platformer. That's what this one is. Your typical 2D platformer. Yeah, typical 2D platformer example, unsaved. Oh, we should probably save it then. Okay, it's still not working. New window platform. Okay. So it's definitely not spawning the player, which is annoying. Player. We're registering this, which is to say it's a sprite sheet. Maybe if I that doesn't make any sense. So if we said sprite is player.png, if this works, then it implies annoyingly something. Wait, no, we just never add the player plugin. That's what's going on. All right, well that makes it a little bit more convenient. So we're going to say add plugin player plugin. Please. Right. So if I run this, it should now spawn the player. Okay, camera ambiguous detected and it's ambiguous camera. Oh, because you're spawning a camera and I'm spawning a camera. Wait, that's probably because this is spawning a camera. Yeah. Okay, we don't need you to spawn the camera. The player spawns the camera. Alright. So we now have this guy spawning. I don't know how it does the terrain, but right. So if I said sprite sheet again, I assume this is going to work and it's just going to spawn in the first image of the sprite sheet, but maybe not. But I assume when you say sprite sheet, it's so it's saying like target whatever the sprite sheet you had set was. I do feel like I need to make the camera a little bit like more zoomed in. I don't know how you do that. But there's a slime. So I guess we can play a movement. I don't. This is what I don't like about it. Is I don't know how to detect the ground. I assume it's doing something with it. No, presumably actually it's got some kind of thing. Like if I can look at their movement. So new velocity, climber, ground detected. These all seem like very different logic things. Ground detected. So these are just things. Okay. These are just things. All right. So from entity instance. Yeah. Okay, so I need to track down the ground detected. Work out how they do ground detected. Also, why have I got these on the screen? Oh, can you go away? I've got these yellow lines on my other monitor. They're like where it's like detected a word in a search, but then it's not gone away. Anyway, ground detected. So ground detected. Ground detection entity. Ground sensor. Right. Intersecting ground entities, and then it's a hash set of entities. And so ground detected is on ground boolean. So spawn ground sensor. For entity shape in detect group 4. Entity collider added ground detection. Okay. Cuboid shape as cuboid. Half extent detect shape equals collider cuboid. Sensor translation is new half Y. Commands entity with child builder spawn empty insert. Active events, collision events, detection shape sensor. So using the rapier. I mean, we can just whack and rapier 2D. I guess that doesn't really bother me. Rapier. Bevy. Oh look, my video's turned up at the top. Documentation. Crates. We want to go crates. So we're just going to do this. Okay. So we have to go back to our main. We'd like add plugins. Add add plugin Bevy rapier, no user data, meters per pixel 100. Right. Now I don't know how it does the detection, and that's annoying because again, this is another one of those. I'm just gonna have to fucking misc objects, climbing, camera, entity, ground floor. So sensor ground detected, ground update on ground. So these are just the things that it does. Colliders, collider bundle, init cell, from instance collider bundle, or entity instance collider bundle, rotation locked, match, entity instance identifier as ref player, view. feel like this is going to make a lot of blocks. Init grid cell. Ladder. One little sensor. Sensor bundle deep. Why isn't this gonna always make them more sensors? Rotation. But you are spawning in other stuff. Like there's ladders, and then when I go back to the game and run it, like I'm assuming it spawns ladders. Compile all this other stuff. I effectively just need to work out where exactly it spawns in items, turn them into objects. Then we should be fine to just cannot find no user data. Yes, because it's like use Bevy rapier 2D prelude, and then you can get rid of this bit. And I think this just gives a unit of this pixels per meter. Can I just do this? Do I need to specify that? I don't know. Schedule in turn, schedule label, default system, default world setup, enable physics schedule. It's gonna take a while to compile that. Oh, we're fine. So somewhere it's spawning something, which is obvious. But I don't know when. I guess we get the inspector because that's part of their examples. So if we look at the inspector, we can probably work out like what it's actually calling the. So like Bevy inspector EGI items and look in their toml in their dev dependencies. Bevy inspector EGI, and then it's like dot add plugin Bevy inspector EGI. We'll work out from there. I gotta wait for it to finish compiling so that the IntelliSense works again. I should just kill it and wait. Forward inspector plugin new, something like that. Gotta wait for a Rust analyzer to finish. So what could it be? Default inspector config plugin. Prelude. Inspector options. No, it's heavy inspector. No. Default inspector plugin. How's this gonna look? Alright, we'll go back to main, I guess. Risk object plugin. I don't think they actually use the inspector in the one that I'm looking at, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe we should look at walls. Walls seems like it could be an interesting one to look at. So there's the walls bundle, which just marks things as walls. Spawns earn collisions of the walls of a level. You can just insert a collision bundle into a wall bundle into the wall bundle, but this spawns a different collision for every wall tile. This approach leads to bad performance. Instead, by flagging the wall tiles and spawning the we can minimize the amount of collider entities. The algorithm used here is a nice compromise between simplicity and speed and a small number of rectangular climbs. In basic terms, it will consider where the walls are, combine wall tiles into flat play for each individual row, combine the plates into rectangles across multiple rows where possible, spawn colliders for each rectangle. Wall plugin. Register IDK int cell wall bundle 1 and 3. Okay. So the walls appear to be int cells. I think I just do this. It already says physics hook equals 0. So we go to like map. I'm gonna go like plugin it, map, plugin. Something like this. We go here, we say mod map. Right. Sure. Add the map plugin. So we like import. It's like pub struct wall bundle, which is wall. Wall. And then we need a pub struct wall. And wall needs to derive default component clone copy par equal. So then you need to implement view derive debug clone debug clone debug default bundle and ld. So use Bevy LDTK preload, and it's LDTK int cell. So I assume the int cell is saying that like, because like where I declare it later, I see is like these are just 1, 2, 3, 4. Like so I assume I have to go somewhere else to do not entities. So collisions. So yeah, dirt, stone, ladder. So dirt being 0, 1, and 2. So I can just draw it, and then it does some kind of weird mesh combining thing. We can do like a ladder. So the idea is that these are not like entities with more than information. These are purely just integer. Like, is it dirt? Is it not dirt? I don't like that it did that. Why is it turning into a tree? It seems like I don't like the lack of control on level gen like that. That's weird. Okay, so it needs to be stone. Yeah, it's kind of ugly. That needs to be dirt. Yeah. I don't think it's rules, but maybe that's just how they've got it set up. Okay. So it compiles. The next is to go. What did our inspector work? Do we have an inspector? No. So I'm missing something about how to spawn the inspector. Like, we open another code, we go back to our other one. Projects, battle game. Have a poke in here and go, how the fuck do I spawn your inspector? Quick world inspector, no. Quick. Asset inspector. Resource inspector, filter query inspector. State inspector, world inspector. No. I assume the world inspector just has all of them. Which is going to make this thing really, like, really cluttered, but, you know. I just want to see the world inspector. We can then hopefully be able to, like, actually, like, poke around in what world it generates. You can... Ooh, I didn't like that. Why not? Because we have to add the add plugin Bevy Bevy inspector EGUI Bevy GUI EGUI plugin. I think it is like this. No, it's default. There we go. Right. So we spawn the AGUI plugin in. Recompile that. And that should, in theory, yeah, I think it's about iPixel, which is like it's Minecraft but more moddable and also like really cool. And it took years, I think, partly not because it actually would take years, but because like I was talking about someone else talked about it on stream, like in the chat. Oh, like in the voice chat. It was like they got bought by like Epic, and then like Epic said, no, you've got to build it in the Epic engine, and then that like kind of took all the motivation away from the people that had been developing in Java their entire career. You know, like they were making a Minecraft clone, truly a Minecraft clone, and not like something else. So like it basically stalled out, and then the original creator bought it back. Rapier context pointer. So I don't 3D camera window. One of these is the world. Camera 3D. Camera 3D. Is it you? Yeah. So this is like wall shadows, entities, visible. So kind of cool. So we go to that point. So how do I do this? So first, I want to turn on the Rapier debugging window, which I think we just do like. This is getting very confusing. This is going to be need to tie it up so much when I actually understand what I'm doing. Rapier debug rendering plugin default. Right. So this should then let us see all the Rapier stuff. So in theory, we can go to the player and we can say, hey, player, you get a Actually, there's probably a really cheeky way around this of being like, you get the sprite sheet because you need to actually pull the sprite sheet out. This is a bundle. Right. So can I go like require collider use Bevy Rapier 2D prelude like this, and we say collider, and then it equals self collider. Right, I think you can do that, and then we can import player, and then just say collider, and then like cuboid 16, 16. The trait collider from function to collider. Okay, can I make you a const collider. I don't think so, but anyway. No, because you do weird dumb shit, don't you? Sharp shape, shared shape, cuboid. Yes, shared shape makes everything fucking arc, which means that it can't be constant. You suck. And then this can't take in nothing. It has to actually take in a collider, which is to say, collider cuboid 16. 16. I don't think that's going to work either. Oh, okay, apparently that does work. It just can't take in a function. It has to actually be a constructor, I guess. Oh, actually, no, never mind. I can do that. I can just say self. I was passing in a function, not the return call. You can't do this. Function like that. And we're, hey, collider. Right. So we're actually spawning the player now. We're now spawning the player with a collider, which we should then be able to see because we turned on the debug rendering. So in their example that they're using here, they use some kind of weird algorithm to then determine what size wall to do, I guess. So, hey, okay. So actually not 16 by 16. Wait, it must be 8 by 8. All right. So that's fun. I wonder if there's a way to specify animation. So yeah, now we're 8 by 8, which gives us a little thing. So I guess we want to go like, I kind of want to finish the map stuff. So we're going to say player controller. So I like the idea of firing little rays out and like doing like a ray cast because the slime moves. Yeah. Okay. So we need to add like move player. So the player spawned. That's done. All right. So update. So we're gonna call this move player. Right. We have to do the walls and stuff, but that's fine. So we're gonna say player single. Whatever we need with player. Right. I'm going to actually get ahead of this, and I'm going to say that you're not player, you're player entity. And then we're going to go down here, we're going to say struct player with a W and with an S and with a T where T is bundle. Maybe. No, but the T needs to implement world query. Something like that, maybe. And then we say player, which is then a query entity with player. No, T. What do you say T requires? What does T require? DT. So D query data. Okay. Not query, query data. Query data. Yeah, okay. And then we can say derive system param. Right. T may not live long enough because the T needs to also be static. Static plus. Right. So then we can come down here and instead of doing this, we just say player. And then we say player transform. Mute transform. And then we also say keyboard input. Button input. We're going to use leafling right from the beginning because I feel like, again, there's no point bringing the technical debt in like as a demonstration because I would actually like to make this into a game. But this is more about like a slightly more advanced level of like I'm not showing how to do things Bevy very basically. I'm trying to show things like how to actually make a platform and not just like how to do it. But for now, we're going to set it up just to make sure it's moving because again, I'm very much learning right now. So we're going to say let move. Okay. For key in keys dot get pressed. Then we say match key. And we say key code key A. So we're gonna need to do something. Maybe the player's entity also needs to always be coming out. But anyway. Actually, I like the idea of that. It seems like a. No, this isn't a query. This is single. Right. And then entity's going to be the same, which is just single entity with player entity. Oh, that spelled terribly. Single. All right. So the idea is that you can just always call entity on player, and then when we say sure. I can implement deref and say that deref is to this one. Anyway, so we say, hey, key code A. So I want like ray, which is then going to be res. Is it single? Single. Mute. No, just rapier context, right? Like that's how this works, I think. Or are you saying that rapier context is not a component? Okay, so is it res? Rapier context? No. Proper structure avoid passing too many parameters to oh, is it just rapier context? Huh. Right, and then the rapier context grabs out joints and rigid sets and simulation collisions. Okay, that's kind of cool. I think that's how you cast rays in rapier. But anyway, we're going to say so ray dot cast ray. So the ray's origin is player. Annoyingly, vec2 new. Oh, no, I can just use this. I can say player dot so I'm gonna do deref, and then I need to say that this is the deref. I think that's how that works, because that means that I can say player dot translation dot truncate. Right, and that turns it into a vec2. And then the ray direction is vec2. We're pressing A, so that's negative X. And then time of impact, maximum time of impact would be 1. Solid true. Cast ray. Solid. So what does solid mean? I believe solid, it doesn't actually say here, from vague memory, it's false, is to say, no, true. True? This is such a hard thing to remember. And then filter is nothing. Can we filter nothing, please? Possibly. So you're saying can't do that because this. What is your return type? Your return type is option entity real. Real is the float, and hence real. So entity real. So if let sum equals I'm going to print out the entity. Print my entity, otherwise transform minus equals 1. So we have to go see like query filter Default, maybe? Do I not have player mutably? I don't. Okay. Mute. And then everything else we're going to do nothing for now. Right. Cannot borrow player mutably. Is mutable because deref mute. Yes, yes, yes. Deref mute like this. Right. Okay. So move player. Player mute transfer. So I think it's you are not considered a valid. Your query data. I thought I tried single. No, no method cast ray. Let context equals ray dot into inner context. Why can I not cast array anymore? What? Why do you not work? Alright, I need to look at the actual Bevy rapier. I typed in Bevy rapier and they autocorrected to baby raptor? No. Small glimpse of how shitty my fucking ability to spell is. We go to the repository, we go to like rapier 2D examples. Ray. Apparently not. Boxes. Okay. Maybe I can just. Does 3D have an example of array? Raycasting. So set up graphics, set up physics. Okay, ray. So read rapier context is its own thing. You can just say read rapier context. And then we just don't do this. And we just say context like this. All right. So no method. Okay. Ray single unwrap cast ray. Strange. Right. I do wonder if it'll visualize the ray being cast because it's happening every frame. Possibly, possibly not. Who knows? God, my stream is so far behind. Oh. Collided with entity 1100. So 1452. I think you have that as a child, don't you? So it's 52. Yeah, play. So if I set this to the other way, which is to say solid is false. From what I remember of like when I did Rapier in the past, solid is like if you start inside of an object, do you hit that object? The idea being that like if you're inside the player's head, do you hit their face on the way out, or do you not count the? If you start within a collider, do you not count it? Anyway, you can go that way, and you can only go that way. There's no other colliders for him to hit, so you know. It also doesn't seem to be rendering array, but anyway, we're going to say key code, key D, if context fire that, and then otherwise move that way. So we probably want the player to have a speed, maybe? I don't know. So you can go that way. And then, again, there's nothing to hit, so... We have our wall stuff, if I remember. So like we're adding the map plugin, yeah? Yeah, map plugin gets added. And then with the wall, and the wall is, so we have to go like app.add is it register register for default entity, register cell. So an int cell is where I think it just says like it's basically just, this is that cell. So like we say 0 and then we do wait wall bundle like that, and we just say cell. Or is it just 0? Right. And then we do the same thing, but we remove that bit and that bit and say this is 2. I think that's how that works. It better not be 0 indexed. Annoyed if you're 0. Yeah. No, it is 0 indexed. God damn it. Well, not 0 indexed. 1 and 3. So this is dirt. And this is stone. Right. So we zoom in. We have our dirt, we have our stone. And say run. It's going to add walls, and then I'm going to say that maybe the wall has a required component collider. It does very specifically say don't do this, but because it's terribly unperformant, but I can work on that in a minute. So wall collider, and you just return an 8x8. So you have to use Rapier. Okay, so this will give us a wall collider, and each wall should now have a collider. So, hey, so now every wall has a collider. We need to also make the camera like centered on the player, but anyway. And then when we hit a wall, apparently the ray is firing in the wrong direction, maybe. U plus U X. I think the ray is probably just a little bit too small. So, like, it lets you. It should be stopping here, but it doesn't stop you. So it's firing from the player's position. It's time of flight. Do we do like 2? Its timing of flighting is hitting at exactly negative, so we could filter for the player maybe. So now it's stopping when the player actually hits it. So that's at 1. So we have a time of flight of like 8, because that's like the size of the player. And that should make it stop when the player like goes outside of it, maybe. We are going to need to optimize our walls so that we don't like need a million of them. So the player can still go a little bit inside of a wall, but not a lot. But the question is, how much inside of a wall are they going? My guess is, I think the player, like if we go 9, because we're hitting at 7, which implies that if we go maximum is 9, it'll hit at 10. No, it's hitting at 8. How big is our player actually? That's probably a better question. How big is that player's collision box? Player collider 8. So why is 9 not working? Hitting at 8 seems to work. Right, I'm gonna make the camera follow the fucking player. Or at least, you know, move better. How do I make the camera closer to the player? Because I can't move it now. I'm pretty sure it's orthographic, which means it's just like the FOV, maybe. Camera. View. No. FOV. There's a scale thing. Viewport order is active. Computed. Output mode. Clear color. I want to make things bigger. Bevy scale 2D. Blend. That's not what I want. I think it says pixels per meter. There's a way to scale the camera so that like you can't move it closer. So let me go examples. 2D rendering. Move sprites. It's gotta be back at like main here. Can we here be like, is it window? No. Set window. Alright, first off. We have to take this and put it on a new line like this. So window plugin some windows default this. I think it's in here and we say like pixels scale per resolution window resolution new physical width is 600 by 900 scale factor. Set scale factor. Right, so window equal window sum. Yep. Right. No, we're just gonna say window resolution default. New window dot set scale factor, right? Three. And then pass in window and go like, does that make everything bigger? Or very small. So the answer is no. How do I? Okay. There's a way to do it. I think it's got to be attached to the camera, but like, What does the camera get? There's camera projection default 2D. It could be the orthographic projection. Frustum default 2D custom compute frustum from so near far viewport origin scaling mode. Fixed. What is the default? Window size. Match the viewport size with the scale. The scale of one length in the world units will map to 1 when the number of pixels used to render it. Okay. So I'm going to say fixed. Orthographic projection. So we're going to say like let p mute p equals orthographic projection default 2D p dot scale equals 3. And we put in p. Wait, so is scale different? As scale increases the apparent size of object. Right, so mode scaling mode equals scaling mode fixed. Like 3. Oh, it's gotta be camera, doesn't it? No, wait. Isn't that how you work? You've got projection orthographic. Okay. Projection orthographic P. Right. Okay, so doing that should make everything 3 times bigger on the screen so that I can like cool. We should probably stop scaling the window down now. Does that fix it? Alright, this whole thing goes boop. Right. Right. So scaling apparently by 3 made that way bigger, which is interesting. So that doesn't make any sense to me why that would make such a huge impact like that. So if I said scaling 2, oh, okay, wait. So I think I'm saying it's only 2 pixels. So arguments describe the area of the world that is shown in world units. Okay, so if we said it's actually that it's 300 by 600, we're saying that the amount of window is 300 pixels by 600 pixels. It's also going to be tall. That's another way. So 720 divided by 9 times by 16. 12. Okay, so we're going to say that you are 720 and that you are 1280. Other way, width. 1280 by 720. Sorry, I keep flipping it in my head. because it's always 720 refers to the height, not the fucking width of the. Anyway, all right, so that makes it that size, which is back to what we were. So we have to go like 320 divided by 9 times by 16, which gives us. No, what is it? It must be 360. Yeah, 640. Okay, so 640 by 360. Like so. And that should make everything twice the size. Because we're effectively saying that the resolution is much lower than it actually is. Hey, there we go. All right. So next is to effectively pin the camera to the player. So for now, I'm just going to like FN move camera. So the idea would be that in future the camera will so we need player, which is player global transform and mute camera, which is query transform with camera. I'm going to say for mute transform in mute camera dot translation transform dot translation equals player dot translation, like that. So for now, we're just going to move the camera to where the player was, or where the player is. But in future, we can do things like make the camera stop at the edge of the screen, kind of thing. So okay. The camera. And so because the camera is technically not attached to the player, we can make the camera stop and the player keep walking, and then the player, the camera can like scroll and stuff like that to different windows. Okay. So first off, player feels like shit at the moment, but that's to be expected. So I'm still unclear why that's it hitting at 8. Why does it need to hit at 9? Like, So if I set this to 10, it'll hit at 9. Right? I assume. Because it's like it needs to leave and then re-enter something. The other trick would be to set it starting at 8. And if it hits anything, that would stop the player from being able to collide with anything, like beyond a certain distance. Probably makes way more sense, actually, to say, don't start. So you start at that and you go -1, and then you start at -8 and you fire out, like, let's say 5 block, and then we say if let sum e and cow time of impact high wave. We do this, we do this. We say I guess it's continue. So it's if you hit here, if time of impact, is it time to impact? Time 2 GTI? I don't know. It had a fancy name for it. What was it? Max, yeah, no, TOI, time of impact. Is less than 1. Continue. Right. So the idea being that if you get close enough to hit it, it'll start printing out that you hit it. But it's only if that value is less than 1 do we start saying that you actually hit it. Oh, this is not what I want to be. Let me hear. Okay, so you're hitting it at 9. Well, that's also the wrong side, so that was a complete waste of time. So it's going to copy this, paste it here, but then we're going to flip it all so that it starts at +8. If the time of flight is less than 1, continue, and then you're at +1. And then you're going X, and your maximum time flight's 5, and then it's false as well. Right. Because I think what's happening is it seemed to be like maybe it's returning true if false, and therefore it's like actually waiting for the ray to not hit something solid or only hit something solid. I don't know. It's very confusing, to be honest. So 4, 4, 4, 4. Yeah, so it seems to be waiting for it to true. So maybe it's that I was actually doing it the other way. It's waiting for the ray to be not hitting something solid. Which means we need to work on the query filter of like saying ignore the player. But please don't hit the player. I don't know why it takes so long to start at that last bit. So it's hitting the player. I happen to know that that is in fact the player. And time of flight is 0. So I mean, the simple solution to that would be to go like 0.1, 0.1, because then it's firing. So it's the player's position. So basically, we're firing the ray from slightly outside of the player. Like so. Nope, we're still hitting the player. Well, that's interesting. Am I being an idiot? And I'm saying, where is this ray? Because it's definitely hitting the player. Why is the player bigger than I think they are? Oh, because it's using... Wait, no. Player.translation. No, player's translation should be correct. Because the player is moving within the world and the world is moving. Negative X. So why are you hitting the player? First off, so if I turn this up to like -9, and with you have to go to 9. That should make it miss the player, and then we can kind of work out where it actually is firing. Now, because I flipped it, I'm now saying that it has to... No, because it's saying it's hitting the player. What are you hitting? Maybe that's not the player. I thought it was, but... so we have 1, 4, 1, 4, 5, 2. We go U, and then it's the world here is 23. And then this entity. Is this entity the player? Who are you hitting? You're hitting 52. Yeah, this is the player. It is in fact hitting the player with a time of flight of 0, which implies that it is effectively starting inside of the player. I don't get why that's working. Okay, so player.translation. Subtracting X. Why is it not working? Ray direction is the negative X. Max time effect. Shortcut to. Alright, so first off, we're just going to query filter. New, only dynamic. Exclude. We exclude rigid body. Alright, so it's like default. And then we say exclude rigid body. Right. Yes, default. Dot exclude rigid body. And then you're saying, so set the rigid body that will be excluded from the scene query. So player dot entity, like that. Correct? Correct. Fine. Player.entity. And then we go import player. What? No. T. Annoyingly, I have to be like where T is. Import. T. Where static plus world data. And then we say entity. She takes in self and just dereferences that. It's just a convenient way of getting the player. Yes, please do it on both. Thank you. Okay. It's still hitting the player, which is really fucking annoying. Why are you hitting the player? I thought I said exclude rigid body. Maybe the player doesn't actually have a rigid body? I mean, that could possibly be what's going on. So I need to do one player. So you, children, entity, children, player. Player, apparently, rigid, rapid collider handler. Alright, so it doesn't have a rigid body, which is easy enough to fix. We can just say, collider, rigid. No, it just says it's rigid body dynamic. I think that's how it works. Yeah, so we have dynamic, fixed, and kinematic position based and kinematic velocity based. The dynamic means that the player, we have to lock their rotation now, otherwise, you know, it's so good. I love it. I want to be cheeky with it now and like make the player like out of cubes, little like spring together cubes, so that if you go over the edge, the player falls over the edge. But I also want to like add animations maybe before we do that. I'm kind of stuck in a hole as well, which is kind of funny. And it's fallen asleep. Okay. Well, I mean, our movement's better. I don't know how we ignore gravity. It's so cool. I wanna do something like the spawning the player. So I want to do funky stuff with the rigid bodies because I think it would be kind of interesting to make our player actually like actually slime, because and then soft bodies. So soft bodies are way more fun, but also way harder. So what I'm thinking is maybe we just make ourselves out of 4 cubes that are held together with springs and quite like loose floppy springs. So when you go over the edge, like your body can like fall over the edge as well and stretch, and then you sort of like render the player like across those points. Anyway, we need to, now that we have to look at the player, like I'm gonna not worry about any optimization. I just want to add animations. So we're gonna go like main here. I'm gonna say mod animation. Right, and then we're gonna say animation. So I don't know how or if we can even modify you, but the idea being that the player having the specific sprite sheet, it's going to be a little bit annoying because it's going to be hard to like provide that information to the player. We're going to say animation, obstruct animation. And this is going to need some stuff. So it's going to need to be like frame frames, which is going to be a range. of U size, I think. I don't remember how Bevy does it. It's like core ops range. Right, so we have a range of frames and a time. Frame time. Sure, frame timer. Timer, and then we need a loop, I guess. So we're going to say like time per frame. And so this stuff goes down here. We're gonna, technically this is going to be settings, and this is going to be state. This should be split into two separate things, but anyway, state. So we're going to here, because technically like this would probably go in its own thing, whereas this is on every single item that has set animation. But anyway, so we have a timer, which apparently it's import Bevy time timer. And then frame current frames. Right, something like this, and then we're going to go back up to top. I'm going to plug in. So we need to use Bevy prelude, I guess. Prelude. Because that should bring in timer as well, I would imagine. Yeah. Okay, then we go plug in. Well, this is going to bring in the prelude anyway. Animation plugin. Animation plugin. Right. Something like that. Something like that. And we go, okay. So we're going to say fn update time on frame, which is going to take in animations. Which is then like mute animation. We don't need this. So you take in the animation, you go home, you say mute animation like this. You need to be a component. Drive component. Right. So update frame time, so frame time, and then we need time. So time, res time, and then we say animation dot, I guess, for animation, yeah, animations. This seems really weird. So we're gonna say animation dot frame timer dot tick dot time dot delta seconds. Oh, delta. Okay, cool. So we go back to our animation things and we say, hey, app dot add system pre update. This is going to be update time on frame. I guess this is state, which is timer and current. Yeah. Okay. So that's why these need to be two separate things, because technically when you add this, it needs to do that. Anyway, fn change animation and like fn update frame. So update frame needs to take in the animation and the sprite. Like so. And we go for animation. Okay, this please. Thank you. Okay. So if animation dot finished is finished, I guess not finished, we can just continue like that. So then we say let next equal if let sum next equals animation dot current frame dot next else animation dot current frame equals frames dot clone. Wow. If animation dot looping. Else continue. So that if else, I guess technically maybe these need to go inside each other. Like maybe it's like else if animation looping. Like this maybe? Like that. And then you need to be like, hey, and then this to unwrap. Well, I guess this is expect. Animation frame should not be empty. Right. Then we say next, and we go, all right, then we go sprite dot atlas. I think that's how that works. If let sum equals mute atlas. As mute. Atlas.index equals next. I don't know. Else continue. I guess it's just let some else continue. All right. Wait, why is this not returning in? What are you returning then? Wait, no, you outside. You're here. Right. Or yeah, okay. I'm like an indentation out sync, so it's like that, I think. Right. So we say let, yeah, well, apparently atlas is readable. So we say let some atlas sprite texture as mute else continue. Let the index equal the next. Right. This is update frame, so we're going to say dot update. Dot add systems to update. And then update frame. So when we go back to our main, we like add our plugin. Dot add plugin. Animation plugin. Like that. So next is to go to a player, I guess. So time on frame, change animation. So we need to change this to be calling animation state. And then we need a pub struct animation. Right, which is this shit. And then this is an asset, drive asset. Yeah, you need type path. Anyway, and then this is going to be animation. Right, and then you need to just have type path. Thank you, type path. So We have animation state. Animation state does this. And then we go, hey, update the frame. So I want to say something like, is there a just finished? If animation not just finished, do this. Because then we can like enclose looping inside of this. So it's like if let next, current frame next, else just continue. Now, my concern with this is, so this is like how you update to the next frame. But I kind of need it to detect the looping and then like, yeah. Like I don't know how to make the array automatically loop. Change animation is going to say, so query animation state, we need animations. Whereas asset animation, right? The animation state, and then we're going to say when changed. Oh, okay, wait. No, so we need an animation. Pub struct handle. Right, so you need to do that because if I, and then so you then, I guess you require animation state. So derive component. So the reason I'm doing it this way is I want require. Stop making it out of my head. Animation. Right. You don't implement default. Right. So doing it this way means that I can actually detect when the handle changed. So state, and then it's going to change animation handle. Animation handle. See, I can't do it the other way because the other way would result. Actually, what if I said that you are component immutable and on insert equals self.start animation. So then you can go like import animation right, like this, and we say start animation, which doesn't take in self, it takes in world mute world deferred world and handle. This is CTX hook context. Right. So the idea being that we can in here say let data equal world.get. I guess it's get handle equals get animation animation handle, right, and then dot expect this is the handle on insert dot 0.id, something like that. You said something. You need an argument context dot entity, right? So that gets our handle, and then we're going to say let animation equal resource animations get. The animation should be loaded by now. No, so it's going to be some. else return. I think we're going to warn. So warn animation handle does not exist. Animation not yet loaded. I think we could probably like pass the ID in, but I don't remember how that works in terms of like. Maybe if we actually grab the handle, because I can't imagine the animation ID contains a handle asset. So an asset ID has an index or a UUID, but I think the actual handle, yeah, handle has a strong. So the strong would let. So maybe we should keep the handle then. Handle 0.clone, because with access to the handle, and then we go like .id. So it's slightly more expensive to clone the handle than just get the ID, but it means that when we print it, it'll actually give us a file name because it has access to all that information. So when we start the animation, so first off, we need to get the timer. Because timer from seconds, time per frame. So timer from seconds, animation dot time per frame, timer repeating. So it's going to repeat because the number of frames is longer than 0. Then we're going to say okay, so it's required, which means we can go something like world dot get mute entities, which is ctx dot entity dot expect state is required. Okay, so then I need to tell it what it is, which is a animation state. Right, and then we say I guess we are home, we say let state equal, and that should be a mute. Okay, that's not mute. Then we say your timer is equal to your timer, and then your animation is equal to your animation. So we can say let frames equal animation frames clone. You do that. So that fires on insert start animation. And that's our animation handle. So this is public. This is also public. For our player, where's our player? It's gonna be a little bit annoying because I'm gonna have to like bodge my way into the player thing at the moment just because of how I've got player entity set up. So we're gonna say so these are both required, and we're gonna say component on add self dot on add. Then we go down here and we say pub on add, which doesn't take in those. Thank you. It takes in init world and ctx hook context. Not deferred. Deferred world. Right. I'm going to bring you in. Deferred world. Thank you. Go work. No. Okay. Bevy ECS lifecycle hooks. Okay. So here we want to say world dot entity. No. Commands dot entity ctx dot entity dot insert player idle. So theoretically, I should just set up actual player animations. Maybe it might be easier actually. ironically. Yeah, alright. So it's insert and then yeah, player animation idle. Right. So then we need a enum. So we'll call it component enum player animation, which is going to have idle and walk. And then we need struct a resource. Okay, fine. Struct player animations, like so, which then just has a hash animations. Ah, fuck it. Import player animations. Get. Just gonna do that, you know. So you don't like that these don't exist, which is because we need to import them from our animation crate, and then we're going to go down here. We're going to say import from world for player animation from world player assets. Where's the asset server? That's not how that works, but anyway. So world dot resource mute, which is going to be asset. Yeah, fuck it. You can just be the asset server. I can just add them. That's just a thing that the asset server lets you do. So we can just say self is this, and then but it's instead it's asset server dot add animation. Looping true, frame time 10, 0 to 4. I think 0 to 3 actually. Check out Slom. Yeah, it's 0 to 3. Oh, I guess it is. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3. These are all apparently private, which is fine. We'll fix that in a second. What did you just do? And we add here, and we say animation. That's our walk animation is exactly the same thing. Yeah, looping, yes, but its frames are actually 4 through 8. 4, 5. No, they're your 3, which means that you're 3 through 6, like that. And then it's saying that these are all private. So here we say, actually, no, you can set any of these you like. Thank you. Now, probably also should include the sprite sheet in here as part of the, like, this is how you set an animation, is you, like, can have different sprite sheets for different sets of animations. But it's fine. So player animations. So we go up here and we say, in our player thing, we go app.init resource player animations, like so. So that's not declared as a resource, that's fine. Player animations gets derive resource. So now we have our idle and our walk and our this and our that, and we go, okay. So theoretically, we don't even need to do this actually. The on add can go away. We can just require it has a player animation. So require what was it called? Yeah, player animation idle. Right, like that. There's the player animation idle, and then we go to the player down to the player animation and say that the player animation player animation. So you're going to require animation state, I guess. Maybe. Actually, I don't think I care. You need a component on add. So component on add. Maybe not. I was gonna do the component on on add, but that's like it adds complications. So we're just gonna like change animation. So player. So we grab the player animations. We grab the player with the player animation. No, it's the player animation with changed player animation, and we need mute and animation handle like that. And then we have to go modify our player thing, and we have to say that you have a T and then F, and F equals unit, and then you become this with F. And then F needs to implement query filter. And F also needs to be static. So the idea being that if you don't provide an F, we just use that, which does exactly that. And then the ironic thing being that yeah, honestly, F can be static and then we can pass an F. And the entity is like, it doesn't actually care. You can filter for all you like, there's only ever one player. It's just that you better filter the actual player thing. Okay, so mismatched resolve something about okay, so change. Right. Very correct. We need components. That's why. Because it's insert only. You can only override an animation. So we say let. What? No. So let animation equal player animations dot get player. Sure. You take in. Yeah, you take a reference to the state, so you can just take in player. I guess a reference to player. Or a dereference to player? I don't know. How does that work? Azareth? It's strange. Alright, so that gives us our animation handle. Why are you not working? Dereference Azareth? No. Can I just pass this in? The thing that I can do? No. Why do you not take a player animation? Dereference reference? No, it's reference to dereference. There we go, reference to dereference. There you go. We have animation, and then we say commands dot entity player dot entity, and then dot insert animation. That animation handle animation. Right. So apparently our player doesn't need the middle. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So when we change that state, so when we move the player, this is throwing an error for some reason. Expected a type, found a trait. It stuck. The wrong kind of query filter, which is annoying because that means I have to go up here and say, hey, first off, query filter can go away. I need to qualify, not import. Because yeah, you don't like this because query filter. We need to fix. No, it's like Bevy ECS query filter. Right, to qualify that one because they technically have the same fucking name, the other one. Right. So we say player can idle, player can walk, player can get. So change animation, and change animation says, I guess we run that after the move player. Change animation dot after the chain. So they run move the player, change the animation. And then you, my friend, take in a transform and a state. State. Oh, no, player animation. Player animation. So let me set equals false. So you do this. Player.0.translation. That's better. Player.0.translation. 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 Right. So we do that. We go here. We go, hey. So player.1 is walk now and set true, and your walk and set equals true, and then we're going to go down to the very bottom and say if not set idle. We need to like dereference you. Right. So theoretically, when we go back into here, we should just start idling. We'll find out if our animation stuff works. I didn't test a single thing while I was running this code. No, apparently not, because I probably, didn't initialize all the things. Like, we need to go to like animation and go, hey, animation, can we build and then like dot init asset animation. Right, that should fix that, but we probably need to go back to here and say that we probably want to initialize the animation before we initialize player, because I think because of the order of operations, when we try to instantiate the player's animations, because the animation asset doesn't exist yet, it will fail. Oh, it didn't crash. Didn't seem to be doing anything. Not animated. Now, why is it not animated? Is the question. So, I guess first thing is we're going to go like here and like print line, updating animation, sprite. Control entity, sprite. This is just, we're just going to see, are we actually triggering animation? Because it could be that it doesn't have an animation state. So it is triggering the animation. Asset index, generation 0 index. Get strong handle, path, sum, swarm. This is the image. Texture atlas. Asset index. If you could stop. The layout's strong. I wish it wasn't moving. The index is not changing. Why is the index not changing? Why is the index always 0? Because the timer's not ticking? All right. Oh, that'd be one way to move it, is down here. All right, first off, are we ever considering this animation to be finished? The answer is apparently no. So why not? Can I print out the timer? Timer, which is this, which is then animation dot elapsed seconds. I think I might just be setting the timer wrong somehow. Possible. Probably should just print the whole timer out because it's elapsing, I assume. It's just not looping. So, and it's resetting all the time. Did I set the frame time like stupidly low? That could also be it, that it's cycling at like way too high of a frame time. You shouldn't. Frame time is 0.1. Why is the elapsed time never accruing? I think maybe I'm setting the delta. I'm not ticking it. Tick. No, I'm ticking it. Frame timer. Elapsed seconds. Tick. Why is the timer not counting up? Maybe it's because its time is set to 0 and it didn't actually work properly. And that's entirely possible. Right, that's why we debug out the entire timer. I suspect that maybe the timer's not getting instantiated with anything, so that's why it's getting exactly 1 tick, is because it's then looping and it's 0. So it's finishing hundreds of thousands of times. Possibly. Alright. Duration is 100 milliseconds. Elapsed is 16 milliseconds. No, so it's why is it not stopwatch? Why do you tick self if self paused? Return self. If mode repeating and not finished, so ticks turn. If self stopwatch tick. So its duration is 100 milliseconds, but it's like never elapsing more than 16 milliseconds. If not self elapsed equals saturating ad. What? Something must be resetting. Something's resetting the stopwatch every frame. That's what we're going on. So that's almost certainly in here. Okay. If not set and okay, right. We're gonna change set. Set equals player animation idle. So I think what's happening, you need to be mutable still. Set equals walk, and set equals walk, and then we're going to say if set does not equal player dot 1, then player dot 1 equals set. So what's happening there is that I think we're resetting the animation every frame, which then is obviously triggering it's changed every frame, and so it's clearing it every frame. So you need par equal. I don't want to dereference you. Actually, it should be fine because we're not mutably dereferencing it, but yeah, so that's almost certainly what's happening, is that every frame we were setting the idle animation, and every time we set the idle animation, it reset the stopwatch, which is not what it should do anyway. Technically, so like it runs like once. Kind of going the wrong way. Oh no, we jumped off. So the stopwatch is in fact accruing. Right, so the animation isn't looping because it's hitting the end of its thing. Right. My question is, can I peak a range? So we can say like animation dot frames, current frames dot peak. Equal. Am I allowed to just look inside of it? I don't think so. No, these are public. End. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna say fn check loop. Check looping. And the way this is going to work is we're effectively just going to do the same thing. We're going to query animation state. But I guess this one also needs the animation itself. I don't know what this monstrosity is. Animation handle. Right, and then we go animations, and we go down here and we go but it's just not looping. So what we need to do is our atoms, we say, hey, for this, so let some animation, and say if looping and state is empty. Huh. Well, that's exactly what I was going to find my own way of doing that, but yeah, that's exactly it. So if animation dot looping and current and state dot current state is empty, state dot current frames equals. So I guess technically we only need to do this on the right. Changed sprite. This is my cheaty way of only running when we've changed the state, but we can't check that because every frame we update the stopwatch, which means the state would always be considered changed every frame, but we only update the sprite when we triggered advance. So we only check to see if we need to loop after we change frames. Behind a reference. Can we do this? Oh no, you just items and something cool. Mute items, and then we get mute. And then we go, hey, so update frame check looping dot change. That should work, maybe. It might need to go to a different stage to do the update, the change detection, but I don't think it does. I'm pretty sure change detection happens literally immediately. Okay, it's printing out a lot of crap. Hey, look, we're animated. I don't know why that keeps resetting the stopwatch, but only that one. That one must be setting something wrong. Yeah, we idle. We flippity doodah. You need to flip the animation as well. So annoyingly, the move player probably needs to do more than just the idle. We need to probably go like mute sprite. So when you do this, you say walk. I'm gonna go like where transform atlas. It's player dot into inner. Right. So you need to be mute. You need to be mute. You also need to be mute. Right. So we say that it's not player, it's animation equals set animation. So this would then be you set it to walk every frame. That's what your problem is. So you set walk. So transform. So it's transform.translation. Like that. That's the player walking back and forth. Cannot move that's annoying. Fine. As ref. Deref mute, maybe? Can we say player dot player? Can I need to be behind a dead reference? It doesn't like that. Fine. I will go back to the ugly way of being. Player dot zero. Player. There is a way to do that. I just don't know how to do it. And also, can we like stop spewing the console with that crap? What is printing the timer? It's information, isn't it? They don't tell me that the fucking timer is running every single time. So what's it doing? So right. This. So we say when you're walking to the left, we need to player dot two dot flip x true. Player flip x equals false. So that should then mean that like as you walk left and walk right, it has the right animation playing. Looking at it technically, it would probably be better to have actual separate animations because it just gives like slightly less shit you need to fuck with or being like. Okay. Don't trip over the edge, you little bastard. Alright. Now he's on his fucking head. And it really doesn't like me walking to the wall. Alright. So when it stops, it's that the tower is equal to basically 2. So when I walk all the way into the wall, it does weird. It won't let me walk into the walls, which is actually kind of what I want, though. I'm trying to work out, like, if the timer flies less than 2, is basically like less than 2, continue. Right, like less than 2, so that the idea that you won't just smash into the walls. I also feel like the player needs to be immune to gravity, but oh no, I'm stuck in the hole again. Need to like bounce out of the hole. What the fuck? Ah, come on, let me out of the hole. Okay. The answer is don't fall in the hole. Oh, God damn, I fell in the hole again. It's like perfectly placed. It's so annoying. I could lock the rotation and then that would stop this from happening, but it's kind of funny to. Yeah. So it's still bouncing. Why is it still bouncing? Well, because apparently it gets a 3, so it should be bouncing less aggressively. If the time in flight's less than 3, continue, like... Theoretically, like, the way it's bouncing is like, if it hits it all, just continue. Just a little odd. There we go. Yeah, because it stops you from being able to actually get to the wall, because it's always getting 2.9. So, like, you technically go slightly inside the wall, but it's not enough for the thing to constantly bounce you off. Now, I think we need our own custom gravity thing, because, like... obviously, this gravity is a bit stupid. Anyway, I want to go back to that rigid body idea that I was having, because I think it'd be kind of funny. So, the player entity. And we have the player entity, right? Yeah, player entity. So the player entity has like an on derive on component on add equals self on add. Right, so this is just going to be a little bit cheeky, and what I'm going to go for here is like I'm just going to spawn in a bunch of colliders. So basically, you have a rigid body dynamic, but you don't have a collider. Right, and then we're going to go down here. And we're going to say fn on add, which is world deferred world CTX, which is hook context. Right, something like that. Right, and then we're just gonna say something like let let me like world dot commands dot entity CTX dot entity dot spawn dot with children, and then this is p, and then go down here and go this parent needs to be mute, so we can do that, and then go me to reference, that's fine. All right, so then we want to go something like p dot spawn, and then it's just going to be a collider ball. It's like a radius of 0. It's a radius of 1. So the player is 8, I think. I don't actually know, but I think if we spawn a collider with a radius of 1, and then we just do that. I guess we go for sure, and then we just need to give them slight transforms. So we like transform from translation. I guess it would just be do this and be like some tuples, and then you say like x, y. So we're just gonna make 4 of them. So you're gonna be 0.5, 0.5, negative 0.5, 0.5. So this should just make 4 ball colliders. I don't know how that works internally. Like, are they going to have their own sort of weird physicsy thing, or are they going to... Well, there is 4 tiny, tiny, tiny ball colliders. So why are they so close together? Is that... I guess it's for 1 unit, so maybe there should be 5. Oh, Actually, there should probably be 4, because that would imply that if the player's 16 across, then you can give them a radius of a much bigger radius, I guess. The issue is that at the moment they're kind of locked in place. And I don't think there's a way to like give them free reign. So the positive ones are a little bit too high. At least we should... Oh no, now we're gonna get even more stuck in the fucking hole. God damn it. Alright. So the positive ones, it's positive in the Y, should probably be like 0.4. 0.4. But I don't think that I don't think I can give them rigid bodies dynamic. Otherwise, I think they stop sticking like to to the player. Like the player no longer uses them as their collider. Maybe they do. I don't know. I can't imagine they do. They rolled away. Yeah, so they're all independent now. The player doesn't actually have a collider anymore because they're so it's only unpaired colliders, which is just a little bit annoying. Technically, I guess what you would do is you would link the player's sprite to the center of mass of the collider of those, and render it on top, so it doesn't actually need to be a rigid body at all. And then you just move it to the center of mass of the colliders. Anyway, so we're going to take away their rigid bodiness because that makes them independent bodies. And then we need to like attach springs. I guess maybe we need to leave that attached to them. Spring joint. No. But like, how does a spring joint attach? A spring damping joint applies a force proportional to the distance between two objects. The spring is implying that even on undampened springs will be subject to some amount of numerical dampening, so it will eventually come to rest. More patient or smaller time steps will lower the effect of numerical dampening, preventing more or less to resolve. Rest length of they're like 4 parts, like 8. A stiffness of 1, a dampening of 0.5. I don't think that's how the spring joints work. Yeah. Right. I think I need to like specify something. I don't know. So, they go, hey, spring joint dot. Okay. Local anchor. Set spring model. Data. So set local anchor is a position, but like the spring joint isn't a thing. So like what do I actually do with the spring? Maybe if I look on Rapier and I can be like springs joints. Can I go there? I want to see the 2D example. But usually the 2D examples aren't nearly as good. Joints. Spring. Nope. Okay. Setup physics. Horizontal joint, vertical joint. So parent entity, body entity, last joint. Revolute joint builder new. Local joint here. Commands entity, child entity with children commands. Okay. We need to attach multiple impulse joints to this entity, so we need to add the components to children of the entity. Otherwise, the second joint component would just override the first. Okay. Right, parent entity. Impulse. New parent. So, but why does a spring joint? Of the first rigid body. So does that mean that well, spring joints apparently aren't. Okay. So we need to say it's like a impulse joint. Okay, so joint enabled, joint limit, joint motor, joint rope joint. So there's a fixed joint So this is a spring joint, but like a fixed joint. No, yeah. So it's doing something else. So an impulse joint for the first from the first endpoint and the joint description. So let S equal let me just say S, and then that would be ctx dot entity, like that. What the fuck does this do? Length of 8. Like I haven't even given it any anchor points actually. It's just a spring joint. Well, I guess technically I need to give them back their dynamic bodies because I don't think they can rigid body. Because otherwise they're not going to do anything. Like they're locked in place. So we need to make them able to move so that I can like see if it's actually springing them the way they've been sprung. So as I move, like they've got spring joints, but it's not very strong springs. I guess the conclusion here. These springs don't seem very strong. Resting length of 8. Can I go like s dot start? Set local anchor. Wall spaced. I don't get the springs just sort of rolled away. So do I perhaps spawn the children and then go through each child and do it? I don't know, because it's a little bit weird. So we go like that last. Let new children equals vec new. Right. And then we did go down here and we say spawn this. So let C equal. And then we say children push C.id. Right. Except I want this to be like I guess technically the impulse joint would go down here then. So we spawn you in. And we do this and we go if children if let sum last equals children dot last else. Right, and then you say C dot immutable C dot insert impulse. I think they need not a different type of joint. Rope joint. Does a rope joint take in a? No. Okay, so we say C dot with child rope joint. All right, so it's got to be a different way of doing joints, is what I'm learning. Joint axes, joint rope joint, fixed joint, piped joint. One of these is a component. Component. Rapid impulse joint handle. One of these fuckers is not like the others. Okay. Multi-body joint. Okay. A joint based on generalized coordinates attached to entities. The first endpoint of the joint is the rigid body attached to the multi-point joint parent. The second endpoint of the joint is the rigid body attached to the entity containing the multi. Okay. The second end of the joint is the rigid body attached to the entity containing component. Okay. Note that a set of multi-body joints cannot form closed loops. For example, a necklace. If a closed loop is detected, the joint that closed the loop is ignored and an error is printed to stand it out. Okay. Fair enough. Rapid. So there's a rapid impulse joint. There's a rapid multi-joint. Impulse joint. An impulse joint attaches two entities. The first endpoint joint is the rigid body attached to the second endpoint joint is attached to the entity, the parent entity. The attached multi-body impulse joint joins to the same rigid body. Multiple joints can be attached to the children of the entity containing that rigid body. This is similar to technique used to attach multiple colliders. Multi-body joint. Yeah, okay. So what this is saying is we want to say this is a multi-body joint, new blast, and a rope joint, new, with a distance of 3. 4. I don't know what the distance actually represents. So last, if let last. Right. Mismatch type expected typed joint. Typed joint. Rope. Rope joint. Yes. And we're just going to ignore it if it's the last. This should just make them all. It should make them not be able to get too far apart from each other. If it's doing what I think it's doing. So as I spawn each one, I'm attaching each one to the last. These rope joints don't seem to be doing anything. I guess they kind of are. I don't want that one to fall off, but they're definitely not actually stuck at the distance that they're saying they're stuck at. They do appear to be trying to get closer together. It's just not very strong. Right. So I want to give them all this spring joint. I guess a spring joint to each other. C dot. No, I think this also wants to be last. Thank you. Maybe it's just it's not a good enough stiffness. I don't know. Well, They also just don't seem to be working properly, because like when I did it to the player, it's like ctx.entity, they all draw a line to the player, which is like presumably representing the link. But when I link them to each other, they don't do that. That could be because they're not supposed to have a parent with a rigid body, or now they're not doing it there either. Yeah, I don't get it. Right, that's because it's a different type of joint, impulse joint. Apparently we should bring in the rapier prelude. We do have the rapier prelude. Why the fuck did you have a second? Alright. Is it because it's supposed to be an impulse joint? Alright, you seem to be attached. You're still able to roll away, but you're at least attached. Okay. So what if I said that multi-body joint, impulse joint? I'm not entirely sure what it's doing. Because the rope joints just do anything. Like, I would assume the rope joints would basically be the equivalent of saying you can't get more than a certain distance away from each other. Oh, I mean, maybe it's working now, because they don't seem to be able to roll away from each other. Right? So, else. So, basically, if you're not the last one, impulse joint, entity, rope joint. Rope joint. It should mean that they can't fall more than 4 blocks away from the player. Like, there should be like basically a line hanging below the player. Alright. I appear to have given the player testicles. I mean, kind of. What if I just make more of them? They really don't need the this bit. So we can just say like for I guess actually just for underscore in 0 dot dot. Let's make like n of them. And then we're just gonna say we'll just go 0 0. I think that's gonna maybe cause a little bit of issues where they're suddenly gonna spring away. But this should then mean that when I hover over the top, it's gonna like form a line below me. I don't know how I'm gonna get away with this. You can't form a loop. Oh. Well, I guess maybe they can't get far enough away from each other. They're all kind of stuck inside each other. So like, what if I said your maximum distance is like 10? Nope, they're still just doing it, apparently. Can I get rid of the spring, perhaps? Because maybe the spring is breaking something. So only that first one is going to rope to me, and the rest of them are going to... My suspicion is that they're only allowed to go so far from their origin. Which means that, like, technically, this one's too far. So if I just say joint, yeah, joint axis and joint limit rope. So there's a rope joint builder. So let R equal rope joint builder. New. The max distance is 5. dot. So local anchor point, max distance, motor max force. I guess build. Impulse joint. So I guess we need to take this as x, and we just pass this in as x as 2. I'm very sure I have the chat open. Keep forgetting to do that. Alright. So white link. Right, so it works now. They just literally can't be on top of each other or it breaks. So, very interesting. So, I want their radius to probably be a little bit bigger. Also, are you attached? You're attached by a rope to the player. Right. So, the rope is like an absolute maximum. I don't think they're allowed to get further than the rope distance, whereas the spring, I assume, is like an increased force the further they go. It's kind of fun. Right, so now I need to work out, like, that last one needs to link back to the first one. We'll work on that. Alright, so first off, we have to stop using this rope joint. We have to give back to this rope joint. We should say rope joint S. No, rope joint R. Thank you. Rope joint. Right. So this should then make them all much closer to me. So they can all hang down. So again, where is their radius? Where am I doing this? Not like a radius of 2. The radius of 2, the max distance of 5 should mean that they basically all touch. I also feel like maybe I should lock their rotation because I think part of my problem is that they keep doing that. Well, well, this is what you get for soft body. Physics. I think the trick would actually be to make the player a sphere and then anchor these around so that the looks like the player's jiggling, but it's not actually. Like the player is still solid, so player can't fall into the ground. Anyway, so if I set like max motor force of like 10, does that mean that I need to kind of know what the default is, I guess. Builder, rope joint. So when I say rope joint, no. Million axes. They're going to get really easily stuck now? Kind of. So, kind of need the... I've probably made them a little bit too... give them a max distance of like 6 then. I don't quite understand how they're not allowed to be inside each other when their radius is 2 and their distance is 5. They should theoretically not overlap with each other, but anyway. Alright, so... First off, when we get to the bottom here, we need to say p dot commands dot entity children 0 dot insert with child impulse joint new ctx dot no new children. No, they all point to the children. So it's more like children. Yeah, no, the first one points to the last one. Yeah, children. I had to work that out in my head. Children dot last dot unwrap typed joint rope joint. I think we could probably just clone R every time. Yeah, do something like that. Something like that. You need to be dereferenced. So that is going to make a loop, which tells me I'm not allowed to do, but I think that's because it's the multi-joint one's not allowed to do that, because that one might have like it forces them to be fixed, whereas this one only applies forces, which means it can actually be resolved in a single frame, whereas the fixed one, it's like it's not actually resolvable. Little sack hanging off the fucking player. Right. So I do feel like I need to fix their rotation to stop them from like just spinning like that. Mostly out of annoyance than anything else. That's kind of the idea, isn't it? Like, as you walk near the edge and you drop. Alright, so each of them needs to be like sprung away. So first things first, I don't think you get this. I think like it's if let this do that, right? Then they're all going to be like C dot with child impulse joint new ctx dot entity typed spring s. So apparently I'm not allowed to go that way. Huh. I guess they're no longer attached to you, so they count. Okay. So I technically still need a rope joint attaching. C dot with child impulse joint fucking new rope joint. I'm gonna call it R, but it's not R. It's like a rope joint new with a max distance of like, let's say 10. It might even be more. The idea being that we kind of get stuck because they no longer count as us if we're not attached to them. But also I want the rope to hang far enough down to be able to see what it would actually look like, not just like have it stuck to the player. So like annoying. Okay, so 10 is definitely not long enough. We need like 100 maybe. It just needs to be like be free from the player. Like roll away from the player, please. Be free ball of rope. So resting length, I guess, can we say like -8? Maybe that's what I need to do. I think is -8 is going to mean that they're going to try and push away from that point instead of towards that point. So the idea being that that could be terrible because it's being the more force, the further away they get, the higher the force becomes. Weird ass fucking blob through the ground. So we kind of need to be like dot. So it's like commands.spawn and then be like child of ctx.entity. Right. The hope here is that like it also needs these. Which one was it? This one. This is the one that attaches it within a certain distance of me. To the impulse joint, go to end. Remove one of those. Okay. I need a comma. Right, that should work. So that should spawn in like a different entity that can then fall below me, and then they should all follow that entity. Because the issue at the moment is I think that they're falling away from me, and it stops me from being able to move, but then they're not like pushing away from the thing that they're supposed to be pushing away from. Stiffness. I assume well, kind of worked, didn't it? Pull them all out. Hang down below me. No, see, they're all still attaching to me, but that's not how they're supposed to do that. We're like let root equal world dot commands dot spawn you. Right. Dot ID. And then we just go like world dot commands dot entity root dot with children, and then we go down here and we say actually these are root. We're looking for anywhere that says context entity. Okay, cool. Oh, apparently it's not attached to me. Do I do that maybe? Are you not sticking to me though? Okay. I assume they're just hanging below that. I said that max distance to that is like 10. Not entirely sure why that's doing what it's doing, but we could go like collider ball with a radius of like 10. I think it's yelling at me that I'm making an infinite loop. Oh, it doesn't have a transform. That's why they're over there. It really doesn't like doing that. I think they don't have a long enough rope to get around it. Maybe we'll make it like 8. Yeah, it doesn't really doesn't like that. I guess they're all getting pulled in by the rope. Yeah, I think that's enough for today. This is funny, but it's also not like what I was going for. I think we go back to like more what I was going for. Maybe. Nah, I'm gonna call it for today. It's getting late. Alright, thank you all for tuning into the stream. I will see you tomorrow with whatever I decide to do, I guess. So yeah, alright.